Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Jeneth Blackert, and I am the host of Bliss Week. And today's guest is Prassana Diana, and she is going to take us into being the force of nature in your life and in your business. And she plays with the elementals and with just nature in general of Earth. So this I hope you're in for a really big treat here. And as you come on, I would love for you to say hello and welcome and really just kind of, be with us. Prasanna has this essence and this elemental essence where she can really, offer us the spaciousness while also giving us this grounding energy of really just being present. And her story is beyond. It is really, really cool, you guys. So I'm excited. This is also the first time I've interviewed Prasanna. She hired me as a coach almost like 6-7 months ago. And we've been working on some of the things that she's crafting and really bringing into the world. So it's really an honor to have her here and interview her. And it's just a joy. As you come on, I just want to remind you that we're using 2 hashtags. We're using hashtag nuggets and we're using hashtag magic during this show. When a speaker says something that's a nugget to you or magical or whatever, just kind of give it a hashtag, because what we do is we collect those nuggets and then we share it with the list so that people can kind of see some of the inspiration that's happening if they haven't yet heard the call. So let's go ahead and get started. Prasanna, I want to talk about, you go way into the depths of being a woman, and also really in the depths of nature. I would love for you to kind of share it all. Just open the door for us to play here.
Yeah. Well, thank you, first of all, for inviting me to the interview. It's a real privilege to be here. Welcome to all of you. It's beautiful. I've chimed in from 6 o'clock. It got dark recently. Now, the connection between the work of the elemental woman, of really being a woman fully, and also nature, is the fact that we are nature. There's no difference. We are created with the same elements as the trees and everything that lives. We are created with the 5 elements, and that is a fact. Now, this week has been a lot about bliss and really receiving life in many, many different flavors that brings us joy, that opens us up, that expands us. Now, nature profoundly does this, and I'm sure we all know that when we are in beautiful scenery, we are on top of the mountain or we are by the ocean, some magic happens and it opens us up because there's a resonance. There's a resonance with what is on the outside is also on the inside, and it kind of brings the inside to life, to recognize and remember, oh my goodness, I am nature on some level, right? Now, when I was tuning into this morning's session, I was feeling into one of the aspects of nature that human beings really struggle to receive. And I want to go there. So we often, when we think about bliss and joy and ecstasy and expansion and all of those things, we always think of the things that are pleasurable, right? Creating pleasure in our life. And that is profoundly important. On the other hand, to be able to experience ongoingly expansion and pleasure and joy, we also need to receive this other aspect of life. And that is like the aspect of that you experience in the face of autumn or fall, which is the Northern Hemisphere. It's where you're at the moment in the Northern Hemisphere. And that is that sometimes in life, the winds blast right through and take down the branches that must go from the tree. And the same thing happens for us human beings. And it is actually receiving that aspect as well. Because if the wind wouldn't blow through and take away, wash through our life and take down what needs to go, that new life the new phase, the new season can't actually come out and expand us once again. So I feel the cherry tree shows us exactly what happens. She looks dead in winter and rests, right? Because after the autumn winds have taken down the last few leaves and taken it all down, she stands there looking totally dead, and she's asleep resting. And then in spring, all over, that expansion happens all over again. And it happens again and again and again. So as human beings, we forget that that is the path of nature. And in our business, that is profoundly important, because if we don't, on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, on a yearly basis, constantly renew, because we are living within cycles, within cycles, within cycles, our work is going to get stale, because we are going to get stale. We're too busy holding on to the old cherries, the old leaves, and we can't create any new, any fresh, any new inspiration. So that's kind of where I wanted to begin, and I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. And so I guess the question is that I'm sure you're going to answer this already, but I think the question is, so those of us that try to hold on to our leaves and don't let it go, then what happens and how do we change it?
Yeah. So if you do that, and I see a lot of women, I work with women, I see a lot of women do that. They hold on to the relationship beyond its use by date, or they hold on to a business concept beyond its use by date, or where they're living, or whatever, is we get really tired, because in a sense, we're forcing against where life, our life, that pulses through every cell of our being, that life that is connected with all there is, all of life, all of creation, it gets stale, because what we do is we're actually holding back the new force, the new life that's pulsing through, wanting to create something new and push out the old in the meantime. We're holding that back. And it's very tiring to want to create on one hand, and on the other hand, we're holding back, holding back, holding back. And a lot of the time, we're not even aware we're doing it. So it's exhausting, absolutely exhausting. So tiredness for sure, staleness in your work, lack of inspiration, lack of joy, lack of, there's boredom settling in. It's like, I've been doing that for 10, 20 years. I'm getting really tired of it.
Right. Or reinventing the wheel, right?
Yeah. And sometimes it's like, okay, the whole thing is meant to go and you start again. So it's like, there's an exercise that it's like not really an exercise, but it's a practice I do. I go for walks all year round, doesn't matter what weather. I've had friends of my children, I've got 3 adult children and 2 grandchildren now, but I've got the younger 2, which are 18 and 20, still live with me. And when somebody calls at night, and I remember there's this one time in the middle of winter at 9 o'clock at night, oh, where's your mom? And my daughter said, well, she's walking. And she goes, no one would walk in the middle of the night in winter when it's raining. She says, yeah, I'm done. But what I want to say with this, I love doing it because I love feeling the elements of nature in its rawness. It's a practice for me of receiving life as it is. And in winter, when it's blusterous and windy and rainy, and I rug up into the warmest clothes I can find, and I'll be drenched by the end of it, and I will be freezing, I kind of walk with this big smile, because I'm receiving life in its fullest. And I just let the wind and the rain kind of wash into my face. My hair will be drenched, and I don't care. So it is a practice of receiving as life comes. And sometimes it is the rain. Sometimes it's the wind. Sometimes it comes in that full-on blusterous storm. And that's also metaphorical. And it's about receiving it, because it takes down, needs to take down, so that there's a renewal being able to occur.
Yeah. Is it okay if I share something that happened in one of our sessions that I wanted to tell them about?
Go for it.
I figured you'd be vulnerable enough. It was okay. So one of the days I said, do you feel that you're living full out, or I think I said playing full out. And she said, I'm living my Dharma. And how many people do you ask that question of? And they say, I'm living my Dharma. And it was just so authentic and real of you to just, say, and then I was like, am I? And I was like, well, I'm pretty close, but I really feel that you're one of the examples in my life that have just, yes, you're living your Dharma day in, day out, and you're with it all. You're just riding the nature and the cycles, and I think that's just, very few people do that. And I want to, I know you're really the teacher of that too, to help people like get out of this, like, cycles of stale, cycles of boredom, cycles of holding it back and not being the share some of your stories of, like, I know that you've got a lot of stories where you've kind of gone into the depths of the ick to awaken to this. And I'd love if you'd share some of those.
Yeah. So I work with the elements. So I want to go into the depth of the water element right now. The water element governs the sexuality. So often when I work with women, it is the knots in their sexuality, because don't forget, sexual energy is life force energy. That's what it is. It's pure creative energy. Now, if our life force energy, our sexual energy is knotted up due to wounding, sexual trauma, any of those things, it's like such a big part of us is not on. And so what I find in my work with so many conscious entrepreneurs, because their connection to spirit is so profound, and they really do have a desire to serve. But what often happens is the water part within themselves, that deep sexual wounding, so often holds them back because their life force energy is tied up with it. And so what I find is when I work with women, and I don't work on we're not working on improving sex life as such or anything. It's more like I'm helping women to be profoundly comfortable and embodied in their body. And so with that, what happens is they discover, oh my goodness, this is what I'm supposed to feel. Like, how do you know if you don't know? It's like if you haven't experienced how to be fully on, you just don't know. So I love taking women there. And so what often they realize is that it is through sexual abuse in childhood, or whether it's been abusive relationships, or it's been unwholesome sex, whatever it is, we just shift it. And we shift it. It is so gentle, and it is so prayer-like and so sacred, because we're using the love of the earth to shift it. The earth she's Mother Earth. That's why we call her Mother Earth. We don't call her Father Earth. We call her Mother Earth, because she is the mother of all mothers. And as women, our bodies want to deeply communicate with the mother. And so our wombs, which are where we are designed to create from, but have forgotten mostly. Women mostly have forgotten to really draw from that powerful creative force that lies within the womb of each woman. Even if she hasn't got a physical womb anymore, that energy is still there. That creative force wants to communicate readily with the earth, but it's disconnected again a lot of the time through trauma that is holding that force at bay, and it kind of keeps it knotted up. So I go deeply into the water element, because through that, a woman really reconnects with her deep instinctual knowing and that force of nature. It frees the force within, so she gets pushed forward naturally, versus trying to push and get this done. It's more like you can't hold it back.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what it's like when if you've ever birthed a child, like your water breaks, and literally it breaks, and then you better be ready. At least that was my experience. It was like,
well, yeah.
When I told the nurse, I said, I think my water just broke. She was like, yay!
Yeah, it's a bit of a whoosh, right?
Oh my gosh, that was crazy. I just like talk about the wave, right?
That's it.
It makes
But
me like
birthing is a really good birthing is a really good analogy to that, because how we birth gives such a strong indication also how much do we trust that force within. So for example, my third baby, I birthed 4. Number 4 was about 10 pounds big. She was a big baby, right? And so I knew that this baby, I wanted to just let her breathe out, come out really slowly. Okay. And there was no force I applied other than surrendering and just breathing. And even though I literally did not push, I didn't want to push her out because she was so huge. I wanted this to be really gentle. She still
really gentle.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
I just said sweet water, former midwife.
You had fallen into the water, mind you. Yeah.
It was weird that just came up because I hadn't really thought of it that way before. Beautiful. When you started talking about the water element, Lisa says like in the flow. And I thought that's also exactly what it is.
Hi, Ellie.
You talk about the archetypes.
Yes.
So is there an archetype where a woman has more water in their or how does that work? Why don't you tell us a little more?
Okay, I mean, we are created with all the 5 elements, but constitutionally we tend to actually be in default of one of them unless we consciously work on it, and that is due to early childhood wounding and the way we've been raised. And so if someone is in default pattern of the water element, say, I would say she's in the wise woman default pattern, which means is on one hand, she will be profoundly aware of what goes on and she can see things other people can't, but she can get really stuck emotionally. So she has that challenge that is very challenging for her to actually move through emotionality. It's like the water, because the water always sinks to the deepest level in the ground, doesn't it? If there's a hill, the water will run down. If it's on the surface, it will go to the bottom of, lower down in the earth, and lower and lower and lower and lower. And so with emotions, the same thing can happen. If someone is in default of water, she kind of gets waterlocked, which means she's just like overwhelmed with emotions and can't find her way through and forward. Is that what you were looking for?
Sort of. So, I mean, you've worked with me for a while, right? Do you know what my archetype is, or do I have to fill out a test for myself?
Well, I'm guessing that you have a strong water element, wise woman component to yourself, because but also very earth. I think you're also really earthed. So I feel that, I would say your energy is slower and steady and deep. Okay. And both water and earth, they tend to be steady and still and deep. For example, fire is exciting. It's like the flame, And so fire people tend to be much quicker off the mark. Their emotions can change quickly. They can be, but they can kind of lose stability a lot quicker because their energy is upward. So yours is really grounded and still, and therefore being an entrepreneur, you really need to be grounded, because there is so many different balls you often have up in the air, and when you're creating a project, there's so many different details. So I feel for you, water and earth, that's kind of what I feel the strongest.
Yeah, that's kind of what I know. I feel very watery, and, I was playing with the channeler, and I was like, she said something about dragons, and I had to ask, and she's like, yeah, just, ask your dragons, right, to help you, to help contribute and create. And I was like, I love that, because even though I create in a very real world and can do things very, what people would call like normal. I don't know if normal is even the word anymore, but that it's still part of me, you know, and I feel like sometimes I like push the dragons to the side because I don't want to be too woo.
Yes.
And I'm done with like, no, screw that. I am woo. I've named the woo.
It's all of it. It really is all of it.
Yeah,
Right?
it seems
Like,
very like there's a water dragon, right? Like this like deliciously light blue watery dragon that likes to play. And so you know, but I am also very grounded, and bodies. Like I am like a master at bodies, right? Give me a body in front of me and I can usually shift and change a lot of things. So
yeah, that's very water. It is really water because there's a quite a force behind water. You know, when someone is very much in the wise woman archetype, as I like to call it, when she walks into the room, you can really feel the energy moving in. And of course, with that force that's behind the water energy, if it's positive, like if you're using it, you can use everything to different ways, but if you're coming into it with full integrity and light, you really can shift an entire room.
Yeah. Caroline said, I think you just described me. I was severely sexually abused at age 7 to 14, and beaten. And I don't know how that describes what we just talked about, but let me keep reading. And so forth. I find myself to be very, very emotional. Always thought it was, because I was an empath, and I feel stuff, right?
Wow.
So that is the fiery one. So it does that.
Can I just speak to that? Yeah.
Sure. Yes, please.
First of all, Caroline, I'm so sorry that you had to experience that. I'm profoundly sorry. No one should ever have to experience that. I feel very sad that you had to go through that. You did not deserve that. You definitely didn't. And it's not been your fault. And I feel just profoundly sad. And thank you for sharing. That is really courageous for you to come out and just share that here with us. So I want to just honor you and say thank you to that. And yeah, I think you're right. I was kind of touching on some of the things that you have experienced, because you know, sexual wounding is in the water element, and so I do find that for women who have experienced profound sexual wounding, there is a lot of locked up emotionality that when things happen on the outside, that there's some kind of resonance to it. It kind of shakes that loose, and you can feel that. So it's almost like a fish hook. It wants to give you an opportunity to let it go. So yeah, really important to undo the knots in that area, because you will find yourself so much freer and with so much more energy and joy in your life once those knots are fully gone. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, she said, "Oh," and gave you a heart. You know, I think that you know, I think almost everybody I know have had some sort of sexual abuse, as it, you know, even if it's just like the wolf, you know, and especially at the age that those things occurred, we will go and hide ourselves and hide our bodies as women. You know, and I didn't expect this call to go this way, but I do think that for me, I had, things happen, and I had also just had the looks, because I was just a hot, cute girl, and I had the whole, people making finger motions down to wolf whistles, like the whole shebang. And I tell you, I really hit it for me. And I know that it could have been a lot worse than what I had. And when I got married at the beginning, I mean, there would be certain ways that I couldn't be touched that I had to work through, and thank goodness for these tools, because they have changed me. And I know that, you've had some sort of, I don't know if you'd call it abuse, but I know that you've had things go on in that area too that you have addressed in your work. Do you want to go down this rabbit hole?
Well, okay, so for me, it was more, our fathers have a very strong impact in that area for us. And so my father is a very dominant man and very overpowering, controlling, and very abusive. And so he shut my sexuality down very young in life. So it was definitely, like you said, I shut it down, and it was partly because he had no respect for women. His language was very degrading, and you have this around you, that energy of disrespect for women and the degrading language. It has a very powerful impact, really strong impact on a young girl. And I'm highly sensitive, so growing as a very sensitive being, profoundly sensitive and open to the spiritual world at all times, and then you're in this harsh environment, very hard, really, really hard. And so really, that was partly that helped me to create Elemental Woman. And of course, later on, I lost my second child 2 days after birth, which was for me, profound impact that had on trusting my body, my sexuality, my recreation possibilities. It was really painful. It took me a long time to recover from that.
Yeah. Yeah. What are some of the steps or things that you can do that got you to really start loving and accepting those areas of your body again? I mean, we've talked a lot about self-love on this, but I think it's, yes, I love these, right? I love this. Yes. I think that there is a part of us that still, when we've had experiences where we've been groped inappropriately or what have you, we start to reject parts of our body. We can still love or feel love for ourselves, but then we reject. And I'd really love for people to have some processes to get back into having the elements of all of them. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I would say the element of self-touch is really important. It is so amazing. It is said, they have even statistically and scientifically proven that women need way more hugs than men. We need, I can't remember, X amount of hugs a day. And they have to be long enough because for our nervous system. And so say, even if you're in relationship, I think it's really important, the practice of self-touch. Right? So, like one of the daily practices I have is, well, I do skin brushing. That's one of the things I do. And then I actually oil massage myself daily. And that's an Ayurvedic practice. And Ayurveda, they do suggest that you massage yourself daily. But it really is with that loving oneself, accepting oneself, especially as we're getting older as well, right? So, and I've birthed 4 children. So loving your body as it is right now, plus minus pounds you wish or wish not to have, doesn't matter. Love your body as it is now. And I think self-touch is really important. So I find myself often, say something happens and your energy shifts and you're not quite in your center. I usually notice it immediately. So, I find myself even brushing myself down. That is really important. And lower belly area, love your bellies, right? This is the area where your womb lays in the middle of it. I love that. I've even created 5 element oils, and there's one of them, which is the Wise Woman. And I literally rub it into my belly every day. And it is that honoring. This is this is my temple. This is sacred. It's powerful beyond. We all have this potential of creating life. You can't even get your head around it if you really think about it. This potential of being able to create life with this temple, it's an absolute miracle. And that force can be used for anything in your life. But honor it, love it. And so I think daily self-touch is really important, and actually talk to yourself. I love going to sleep. I love you, Prassana. I love you, Prassana. This is fun. I love going to sleep with.
Right. Because you could with you, like your higher self, your now self, your all of you, your past, your future. I really look at it that way, as I love that word, all of you, because it's like, yeah. Wow. It's funny because like if I shower in the morning, when I shower in the morning, I will usually get out and kind of slap like lotion on my legs because I'm in a hurry or something.
Right.
But at night, I have these I put on these like really high frequency oils all over my face. And I almost in the shower try not to shower because I don't want to wash off the oils from last night. But they're all these like high frequency oils, and I just kind of will just go and massage them in. And I love that nighttime ritual with the oils because it is like it really, and I look at me, right? I meet myself in the mirror and I'm like, we did good today.
Really good practice too. Really good practice.
Sometimes what a great day.
Mm.
And and I really take that time to just kind of acknowledge, what, this was a great day. And it's funny because there's not many days that I don't like think of it as a great day anymore.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it doesn't actually matter what sort of day it was. For me,
it doesn't matter.
I'm having a meeting with myself. So, I go and look at the
right? It's a meeting with myself.
How are you? Right? So how are you? I'm checking in. So I'm looking into my eyes and I'm going, right, tell me, how are you?
Right? Yeah. No kidding. It's a great day. I can afford expensive oils to put on my face.
That's true.
Whatever it is, and there you can also reflect on, that didn't go so well, and I wish, what would it take to change it? Yeah. I think that I have moments like that as well, and I think it's really important for us to just go, yeah. What would it take? My theme for this week has just been like, I want so much more, right? It's like everything is great and I'm fulfilled, but there's still this so much more energy.
Yeah, I mean, we are nature, and nature wants to keep growing.
Okay.
And our soul is all expansive. Our life force energy is all expansive. And in some ways, we're trapped in this tiny little body, and it's negotiating. It's going, I'm going to wrap here. I want to expand, right? And of course, as we are growing personally, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, as we are expressing our gifts more and more in the world, as we own our gifts, know what they are, because some of us are still discovering what are the gifts actually. So we're constantly leaning, it is about leaning into that edge that wants to keep the life force kind of more captive and small, and it wants to always expand, because that's the nature of our life force energy. Because when you're thinking about it, our life force is our soul force, right? It's our soul force. It's connected with all there is of creation. We're not disconnected at all. We are completely connected with it. It is when we shut down and choose subconsciously disconnect, we feel what we are contracting, right? We feel small. We're hiding ourselves to some degree. And then again, we reach out to come to that limitation. And then it's always a choice. Will I push through that limitation, which is scary, right? Because we're going into a territory of the unknown, outside our comfort zone. But that's where the bliss lies. The bliss lies actually leaning into the edge, because the soul, just like the cherry tree, wants to grow and expand with every cycle. Always. That's the nature of it.
Yeah. So would your advice for this, like, that, maybe I just need to acknowledge that I always want to grow, and that there's still more growing, and stop trying to go, do I have a block in the way?
Always. We always want to grow. always want to grow. When you're looking at a small child, they will want to explore something new all the time. They're not going to say, oh, now I know how to walk, I'm good. They're going to explore something else, and it's going to be something else. They're like the adventurers of life. And it's interesting because I chose to homeschool my children because I didn't want them ever to lose that love of exploration and learning. And so interestingly enough, when children go to school, so often they stop asking questions, right? But what I've noticed in children who haven't had kind of this systemized learning, they don't stop. Their hunger for learning remains just like in the 2-year-old, which shows to me that is our nature. Our true nature is that hunger and desire to constantly grow and expand ongoingly throughout our entire life. And here's the thing, I'm not sure how many women here on this call are in around perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause. But so often what happens is we have given everything to our family, to our clients, to our partners. And what happens around that perimenopause, menopausal, postmenopausal time is there's a powerful reclaiming that wants to occur. And women often definitely uses interest in the way things were. It's always like, I've had it, I'm done with it, I'm going to start a new life. And she often has this desire to completely reinvent herself. So that is completely natural. That's what this life within you is desiring to do.
Wow. It's funny. I just had my hormones tested and I still have the follicle thing. So, I was like, she's like, yeah, you need to be careful. You can still get pregnant. I was like, are you kidding? I said, no, I guess that's a good thing. But I was kind of hoping that she'd be like, I don't know. I think you cycle for like 3 or 4 years after that follicle thing goes away even. So I've got a little while. But I've got to be getting close here. I've decided.
Right. Yeah.
Because in a way, it's like a new shift, a new change. I'm kind of ready to make a shift. And in a way, I'm kind of like, no, keep them as long as possible because people will say you gain like 20 pounds after. But I've also had people that's like, no, that wasn't true for me. But I've got a belief in my head. It happened for my mom. So I'll have to kill the belief. So I've got a little bit of time to kill the belief.
Right. Yeah.
It's kind of funny because I don't really have any resistance and reaction around it. We had somebody on one of the calls at the very first day, and she was like constantly like, help with hot flashes, help with hot flashes. So do you have any like from a energetic elemental, what is there something there?
Yeah, definitely. Again, so we're talking about physical symptoms in menopause. Well, again, as human beings, we are nature. So when one element is out of balance, then all of the elements are out of balance. So in nature, for example, if we have a bushfire going through, everything is getting very dry, right?
Okay.
And so, or if we have floods, the roots get waterlogged and trees die because there is too much water. So if things are out of balance, which we're seeing everywhere on Earth right now, one element's out of balance, everything's out of balance. The same applies to us in our bodies. If one element's taking over or is too much off, everything else gets out of whack. And so when I think what happens is a lot of women come to menopause very depleted. So they've actually worn themselves out. They've been too much in the drive, in the goal setting, what I would call in the Amazon archetype, right? Not in balance, in the default Amazon archetype where they're always acting, they're always busy, not necessarily what the wise woman dictates them to do, but they're always busy, they're always hunting, they're always reaching for that goal. And so that deeply, deeply depletes the water element. So when they come to menopause, they come to it very water depleted, very water depleted. So what happens is their bodies are too hot. You know, they're coming to it with not enough moisture left in their system. So when that happens, really important, rest, slow down, honor the fact that your body needs to be rebuilt. And to rebuild the water takes time. It means the kidney energy is depleted, is kind of empty and kind of tight, right? So the nervous system's on high alert, can be. And just a complete exhaustion. I remember I had these 2 women come through who actually created a menopausal business. I helped them to birth a menopausal business, right? And they were at that point 58, and they had been driving, I think it was their 6th business they were creating in their lifetime. They were twins, actually, gorgeous. But they've been driving themselves really hard throughout life, and they came to it so depleted. So, and I find that's what I see a lot. I see this so much in life with women. So watch it. If you're not there yet, really build up. Allow yourself to slow down at the time, you know, at nighttime, during dark moon, during winter. Rest, take pauses, build that kidney energy up. So when you're going into menopause, you're not getting there completely empty. That is really important.
Right. So hydration doesn't really have anything to do with it. It's really
not necessarily, no. I mean, of course, hydration is an important thing, but what builds the water element up is things like soups, broths, plenty of sleep, resting, slowing down versus just always acting, right? Our Western lifestyle, go. And if you slow down, coffee, right? So
I've actually just spent the last 6 years like slowing down and revamping everything with systems and everything like that. So, you know, I'm actually, you know, I might have good genetics around this too.
But you know what it's like after a burnout, right? So in burnout is a similar thing. You basically depleted your water element in burnout. And so the only thing that rebuilds it is slowing down and resting and self-nurturing and doing practices that rebuild your body from the inside. And that takes time. Once you've actually trashed that part of yourself, it does take time to rebuild.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, what do you say or think about, like, so I can kind of feel like I can speed, like, you know, there's a difference between doing the work that drains you and doing the work at a high speed that actually feeds you.
Yeah.
Is that really kind of the balance? Or it's like we're not looking at actually just like napping more.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I know what you mean. So we're talking about 2 different things here. Okay. So, okay, the consciousness, the spiritual world, is when you get insights, they come really fast. Okay, the spiritual world, and the spiritual world is not the physical world. The physical world is very different. It's dense, it's heavy, it's slow. Because we're on the physical world is totally different. Spiritual world is very, very different. It's like you can have an idea, a thought, an inspiration, bang, and it comes again and again and again. It's like this waterfall of inspiration that you can follow, and you're kind of in this flow, this river of creation, right? Consciousness. So you still need to nourish your body. Here's the thing: you can be highly creative in the flow of creativity, as you have said, very quick, but your body is very still and present. It's like the body is the physical vessel, is your temple, it's your earth. Like your soul lives in your body, so it's the immediate earth you live in. So if you look after it, keep that grounded, keep it still, keep it rested and relaxed, the spirit then within the body can create very quickly. But you have to look after your body.
So really listen and talk to your body.
Yes. You can't deplete your body if you don't do that. And it's water, you know, you're quite strong in the water realm, water and earth. So for you, it would take some time for you to get there. But for people who haven't got that constitution and they're more fire or they're more metal, They can't. They really have to watch themselves so much more because they haven't got quite that physical vessel isn't as earthed. And so they have to take more care with that.
Uh-huh. Oh, well, that's good to know. So basically, if you're already kind of fiery, then you are going to have a little more trouble with this than
I got to watch it because I'm naturally more fire. And so I constantly nurture the water, the resting, the stillness, the doing things slower. So what I do is, because I constantly create, often work on 6 projects at once. So I frequently throughout the day just pause, take a walk, and just make sure I'm in my body. And I take slow walks, not fast walks. And it just helps me for this body to support the work I do.
Yeah. Do you feel overwhelmed a lot or things like that?
There can be times. I kind of watch it before I get there. So it's being aware and definitely having daily practices in place which support my temple, my body. It's really helpful, like the daily oiling, the walks. I did an experiment recently, by the way. I've always done about an hour's walk at the end of the day. Recently, I thought I'm going to experiment and have 3 shorter walks throughout the day and see what the difference is in my body. And I can't tell you, the difference is so huge. I couldn't believe it, even though it's roughly the same amount I'm walking. The amount of energy I have and life force energy there to create is so much higher because I give myself 3 pauses in the day versus having a long walk at the end. 3 times a day, I get fresh air and sun, and I can meditate and drop in. It makes a big difference to look after. The busier you are, the more of that you have to do.
Yeah. Well, I find that I have to get out in the sun almost every day.
Yeah.
And in Texas, we've got a really strong sun, so maybe it works faster.
Yeah. Maybe not. Depends on the constitution.
Night after everything, I was like, sun. I just sat there in the sun. And I know that's not great to get too much sun, but geez, like, please, I need some vitamin D.
Morning and evening is perfect.
Yeah.
Depends very much what country, how close you are to the equator and all of that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, this is fabulous. I feel like I learned a lot too. So instead, I really thought about this, and you're the one person that I thought, instead of putting what you're offering in the box, I'm actually going to give it to the whole list, and just kind of see what kind of response you get.
Okay, cool.
Greater good. And so we'll figure out when the right date is for that to happen. Tell them what you made, because I think they're going to be super excited about it.
Yeah, you mean like the recent project that I've created?
With the Detox Your Office.
Yeah, okay. So I wanted to create a project. Well, this is really exciting because it's for the first time I've created a project that has a 4 ways win. And that's what I'm really excited about. I've created a project for women who want to experience the alchemist archetype. And, going back to the beginning of the call where I said how important it is to receive life in all its flavors. And sometimes it is the winds going through, taking things down and clearing out. That is really vital for growth and to receive that wholeheartedly. So I've created this project, Detox Your Office. And so I'm taking women next week, starting Monday, through a 5-day challenge to detox their office with the help of the archetype of the alchemist. So the alchemist is brilliant at just letting go. So we're finding very playful and sensual and feminine ways of actually letting things go in our office, filing things away, throwing things out, cleaning up our computer, creating beauty. And people have told me for years and years and years they want help with their house because they walk through mine, they go, it feels like a temple. It feels amazing. What do you do? So I want to take women through that actually physically creating a beautiful sacred space in their office and really create order, clear out the old energy so the new can come, so they can experience that growth that wants to come by first clearing out. The exciting thing is that it also helps me to support my favorite nonprofit organization, Tree Sisters, which you may have heard of. Tree Sisters is a global organization that replants the lungs of the earth. So Tree Sisters actually has initiatives around the world where they plant trees everywhere, and their aim is to plant 1 billion trees a year. They've reached 6 million, and we still got about 4 to go this year. So all proceeds of this challenge will go to Tree Sisters. So, and then, of course, Mother Earth benefits because she has her lungs replanted. And the very cool thing is about it, there's a direct correlation because the alchemist archetype actually governs the metal energy, which is in the lungs. So actually, we hold grief and pain, sadness in our lungs. So as we're actually clearing out the office, there's a shift in our own lung energy, lung and large intestine energy, and it directly actually supports financially to replant trees and replant the lungs of the earth, which I'm so excited about. It's because this is all what we are nature just like nature is. So it's an amazing project like that. So the women who are participating are going to win. I'm going to win, Tree Sisters is going to win, and the earth is going to win. And so this is the first project where I've actually been able to tick all of the boxes.
Plus, if you just opt in, you also win because she made this free video for you to have a taste of it all. So I'll put it in the PS tonight with the replay and tomorrow. And then on Saturday, I'll send an email out just for
that would be great. That would be really amazing. So really what I'm looking at is, let's create a group energy, kind of a party energy to create a new space in the office because, hey, we're conscious entrepreneurs, we healers, we artists, we're here to make a difference. And if we have a temple, sacred, amazing creative space, just imagine the projects that are going to be created in that space.
Prassana, do you know the link, the direct link that I can just put in the comments?
I would have to look for it.
Well, then it'll come to you. So you guys, here's what else is cool that she didn't say. So you get the link, you get a free taste of it all, like just in the energy. So it takes you like really deep into a video on what the experience is. If you invest just $11, if you don't want to put in a big investment, she choices, but it goes 100% to Tree Sisters. And then you get to work with Prassana on this 5-day challenge. So it is freaking awesome. I think it's really cool that you did this.
It's amazing. So 11 trees will plant $11 will plant 22 trees. So that's kind of how we're going. So we've got the option of 11 planting 22 trees, or 111 planting 222 trees, or your own amount. But yeah, it's really exciting.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Teresa says, yes, I'm purchasing 100 acres of woods.
That's wonderful. Yeah, so it's going to be a really fun week. And of course, Tree Sisters is so excited. They're so happy because I've become one of their official water barriers. I shared stage earlier in the year with Tree Sisters, and we were both enthralled by each other's talks because we're so aligned philosophically. So I decided I wanted to be one of their regular supporters.
Cool. Well, I thank you for doing it. We're right. We've got 3 minutes left. So anything that you want to add before we wrap up?
Yeah. I just want to tell each one of you that There is this strong force of nature that is unique to you. There's this force within you that has its own plan of what it wants to be and create in this world. And I want to encourage you to really set it free and let it. Just let it. Stop holding back. Find ways to fully embody yourself, to undo the knots in your sexuality, in your sexual energy, which is your life force energy, which is your soul force energy. Really, really fully own who you are, so that those gifts that are unique to you can fully shine through in your life. So just let it.
Thank you. All right, you guys, with that being said, I'm going to wrap up. Same time, same place tomorrow. We have 4 calls tomorrow instead of 5. We're going to start happy hour early. Wow, this has been great. What a great way to end the day. Thank you, Prassana.
Thank you so much. Lots of love to you all.
Love
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.